Okay, good morning. It's Friday, April 9th, and we're going to jump over here and look at the S&P 500. Let's look at what's happened in the overnight session. So let's make this a little bit, now we'll leave it like that so we can see it better. Okay, so yesterday, remember we said 99. The high, that was a new all-time high. The high of the day there was 98.50, kind of ran out of time. But then when we did the review for yesterday, the market was trading somewhere. I think the high was around 99 when I started, so it was right around here. And then when we did the review, we said that we couldn't really even talk about any kind of a pullback or anything until we saw at least '02. And so 4102, which of course this was the current all-time high, so these were all new all-time highs. And then the push up here, if you can see that, is 4102 half. So we achieved that target plus a couple of ticks. That's really fine. And then what ended up happening, I actually was here and I ended up going long over off of this and off of the CP here. And so there was a nice move from here to there. This took a little while, but uh, still moved. And then not a big surprise that a lot of the just to give you an idea, I would consider this, say, this is about an 8 point range with 3 prediction points in it. It's definitely, this is certainly a cluster here, and you could make the argument that this is a congestion area. So traded inside of that most of the day, or most of the overnight session. Once it traded in here, it spent most of the rest of the session in here. So let's make the argument that this is a congestion area, and that would make this a checkpoint. And I've been showing you this here for a little while, but we're drawing in the fib between these. So this first push came to the midpoint of the prediction points to the tick. So let's talk about for today. This is not really a problem. Um, if it was really, I actually like the pullback. And let me show you part of what happened yesterday. We never came back. If you remember, we had this KP at 75 right here, and then we had a KP at 73 quarter. So today that basically merged into this one KP. I mean, that's a way you could look at it. So we had one here, and we had one down here, and now they're basically merged into this one. And what happened was on yesterday's chart, we never came back and tested this area. So I'm still very much interested in seeing if they come back, if they can hold this. And so let's just kind of talk through that. This is obviously untested here at 70 half. So perfect world scenario, if I was drawing it up for you exactly the way I'd want to see it unfold, it would look like the open would open up and we would get a, let's go to the actual open candle. So we'd get a push, let's see, right up to this 91 half area, 91.75. Okay. And maybe we get a push up to 93, 93 quarter half, something like that, somewhere right there. So basically a push up right into this area, right over here. So somewhere right in here. And a push up into there, and then we would drop all the way down and test this 74 3/4, 74 half area. If that doesn't hold, and then what would need to happen is then we need to get a pretty decent push and break back up above over here. Let me see what this looks like if we draw this like this. Um, so we're going to need to get back up above this. Don't really need to worry about why I drew that there the way that I drew it. I'm just telling you we're going to need to get back up above that. So And then you could basically take this and put it like that. Probably like that. Okay, so this is just a 5-minute chart, so you can see how I drew that in. These are, so, okay, so let's notice something. 91.75. That might be a little bit high. Something like that, maybe. So something like that, 93.50, 93, 91.75. So we're going to need to get back up above these. So depending on how that goes, so if we only bounce from here back up to here or up to here, then look out for lower. So technically this would be a breakdown if they take out this 74.5 area. But given that this CP right here is untested and it's a CP, there's a possibility that they break yesterday's low, test the CP, and we see a pretty decent amount of buying. Now, let's go with the below here is a breakdown, and that would mean that any move up from here would be just a bounce. Now, that doesn't mean it can't bounce a lot because the next CP is 17 points away. But they would need to come back up and take these out again for a real breakout to occur. So it might be more of like a range type of scenario unless it just gets really ugly because it's going to take a lot of strength to get back up above here. And we'll talk about what would be above here in a minute. But that's not really the most relevant thing here for the open in about 7 minutes. The most relevant thing is if this gets taken out as resistance and then holds as support, we're going to see a push up higher. But that's sort of a secondary scenario from right now. Right now, what we're looking for is a pullback into the 74 half, 74 3/4 area, and we'll see if that is going to play out. Ideally, the buyers step in here. If the buyers don't step in there, it starts to change things a bit. So watch this. Yeah, so watch this 70 half area. And this is pretty well tested, I would say. Doesn't mean it can't still bounce from here, but if it did come down here and bounce from here, the 66 area, it's probably just that. It's probably just a bounce, which would mean that any move up would still be for selling. Now, notice what happens when we go like this. So things really start to open up here, and because of that, we definitely want to put the fibs in here and pay attention to some levels in here. So depending on the timing, but this top level, the 60 half, that's something to look out for. And then probably want to watch this midpoint, that's 53/4. Um, Somewhere between here and here, 53/4 and 50/4 could probe through here a bit. So somewhere into this area. And then below that, watch this lower part at 46.50, and then of course, with how big this gap is, yeah, we probably should be watching this area. So this would be like that 12% level. So right in here, watch that. That's like 43 half, something like that, somewhere in that area. And that kind of depends on the timing as well. Could be a little bit lower. And then below that, things open up a bit more. We do have the CP here, but things do open up a bit more. I would say watch this midpoint around 32. And then here, the first probe level below this would be that like 20. What are we looking at? Would be like 20. Yeah, it just kind of depends on the timing. 24 area. So just kind of watch out for that. That would be a lot of, pretty decent amount of selling to get down to there. So right now we're retesting this CP. Could test this one. Ideally, we'd like to come back up and at least test this lower one. That would be ideal. It's that 91.50 area. But really need to take both those out for anything higher. So to change this scenario where we don't come down into here, we need to take these out and then hold for higher. These will be like a pivot area for me today. And they move up over time. So it means it's requiring the market to get stronger to continue to go higher. Okay, so let's talk on the other side of this. What if this were to play out this way and the market could break out and hold up above these, then what we're looking for is, obviously we have key turns here, but basically what we'd be looking for is this midpoint to start off with. So let's that 0675, and then it's a little bit dependent on timing, but that midpoint right around there. And then next would be probably this. Let's see, I have one key turns that, let me refresh these. Hmm. Oh, I don't probably have enough days loaded here. That's the difference. So sometimes if you don't have enough days, so key turns are going to change here in a second. Need a year of data loaded. There we go. So now they're right. Okay, so this midpoint here, let's just say that this area in up into here, and again, it's going to depend a bit on the timing, but somewhere between the midpoint and the CP, that's going to be fairly significant. Up above there, it gets really strong. Uh, we've got a big gap, about a 22, 23 point gap up into the 40s. And even that would probably not be enough in the bigger picture. So there, the midpoint would be something to pay attention to. Probably that upper level would be something to watch out for. But so I don't know how strong the market's going to be today. The break that we got over here, this is fairly significant. So if you look at this, was definitely holding right here, and then it broke, and then it came back and retested it. We haven't retested over here, so would like to see that. That probably gets us a push down into the 74 3/4 area, and then we just kind of have to see what happens next. But everything that we talked about up here, just take it one at a time. If we break one and we can hold up above it, great. Next one's on the table. So one at a time. And when things are really, I mean, even for Globex, I mean, it only broke, I said oh 02, it only really broke here by 2 ticks. So they're running it pretty tight there. It came to this midpoint here to the tick. If you remember, we said 99, it was 98.50 yesterday. This swing high right here was 98.50. That's not coincidental. So that ended up holding. They broke down here. So I wouldn't say the market is overly strong right now, but it certainly could turn into that. So we're going to have the open here in about 20 seconds, and we'll see how things all play out here and how this all goes. And of course, I'll be back here for the review session today. And trade smart, trade it one step at a time, take it as it comes, and we'll see you back here this afternoon.